I've got a really good network of close friends who keep me from being a dickhead, I think. But you met Lara there earlier on, who's already taking the piss about this
Yeah.
setup. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
and like people like my mate Bob or Mike or even my brother Connor. He'll text me and go, "Hope your fucking head isn't getting too big, you bollocks." Do you know what I mean? That's what. Oh, by the way, I don't swear
Oh
anymore.
yeah, you're allowed to swear what you want, mate. Yeah, go for it. Yeah, go for it.
But no, I think that's useful to have, an oversight. My wife Tracy as well. She'll go, you need to just keep it on the level. You're just a pub manager. You're just running a single place. And I don't really want to change because that's what I am.
Oh yeah, but also I think it's good to show. I'm a show off. Like I think showing off is not a bad thing. But how would you say, how would you say ego has been important for this, to getting this place to where it is? Like what's
I don't know. I think I was fortunate to have a long career of doing okay before, and trust in my instincts when it came to the pub stuff in particular. You're right.
Yeah, all good.
I'd spent long enough taking what looked like gambles in terms of doing stuff with the pub, whether it's the social media side or the product side or menus or pricing or special nights or doing things in a different way in terms of service. That I knew that even if my decision was slightly wrong, I was going to run with it and make it right. And
such as
I don't know, maybe. I mean, one of the things you might want to mention is the way the reservations work. I think I made a decision that I didn't want to have like long-term reservations where people had booked 4 months in advance and were going to be looking forward to it for that length of time, and then coming with a really massively high expectation that they've done it. So that's the reason why we made the decision that you can only book 3 weeks in advance, so that you book and then you do the thing and you come along. So there's not that building sort of thing. And that sort of came from, to be honest, it came from a discussion I had with Russell Norman, bless him.
Yes, yeah.
And he was doing something similar at Bruto, and I just thought, oh, fuck it, I'll do it. And we've ended up making it work, even though it kind of doesn't make sense.
Yeah, that's so clever. Like I was reading something the other day about it's like happiness is reality minus expectations. Mm-hmm. I think expectations, and it's a book called the name, by a guy called Morgan Housel, really interesting guy, and he was basically saying the issue is everything's got better in the world. Like if you look at it compared to, say, you can get a fucking hot shower in America, say 50, 60 years ago, whereas now we can do that. But the issue is that everything's got better, but our expectations have gone up so much of what has to be, especially with social media, all this stuff. And I think that's so shrewd of just like saying, right, we've got 3 weeks here.
Yeah.
You're not going to set these massive expectations, because the bigger the expectation, the easier it is just to not meet that.
So I really feel that a lot. Because I think, social media and what happens on the internet really amplifies, the expectation that people have. And, at the end of the day, we sell pints, steak and chips, a few sides and some sauces. You serve the steak and the chips and the sides, and somebody does this unbelievably arty photograph and puts it on the internet going, "This is the best steak I ever had. You got to go here, blah, blah, blah." Of course it's good, but is it the best in the world? No, probably not. But it's good. But, people reading that going, right, I am going to have the best steak in the world. And all of a sudden they come in and it's raining outside. The pub might be too busy. Their table might not be ready when they come in. They might sit in a table that's a bit noisier than what they want it to be. They might be too close to the table beside them. And all of a sudden, their expectation for us to actually deliver them a really great time becomes way more difficult.
Yes.
Because the difference between what they expected and what happens is more tangible.
Yes.
Because of what someone else put on the internet a couple of weeks before. So, we grapple with that quite a bit, and we try and watch out for those tables. And it does happen, of course it does.
Yeah, of course.
If you're having a bad day, right, and you've had an argument with your boss, or you hate work, or the tube was stuck for like 3 hours, or you got soaking wet before you come in. If you sit down in a restaurant, you ain't going to be happy. It doesn't matter how good it is. And I've said this as well before. I think when you're not happy sitting at a table at a restaurant and you get the food, it doesn't matter if it's the best food in the world, it doesn't taste right.
Almost when you're in that mood, you're looking for anything to go wrong. I love that little trick of managing expectations with the booking system. Is there anything else you've got in place? Any of these little incremental things that kind of, when someone comes like bulging in or whatever, that you can kind of ease them off a little bit?
Well, I mean, Danny Mayer.
Other than a pint.
Well, a pint, do you know what? A pint is the best thing, or a glass of champagne. We've got a medicine cabinet upstairs of stock that's not on the tills. So we got some sweet wine, we've got some Madeira, we've got some champagne. Yeah. And I want to see that being used by the staff. I don't want to look in that and have it be the same as it was yesterday.
So you've got a medicine cabinet.
So that is like,
so people will see that.
No. They don't see it. But what happens is if we see a table that's obviously pissed off, it's up to us to go over there and go, how can we help? What's the story? By the way, here's a couple of glasses of champagne. I hope you enjoy your evening. And that quite a lot of the time that smooths it, or at least makes it a bit better, and then the expectations a bit easier to manage.
You mentioning Danny Mayer.
Yeah.
He's for listeners, he does Gramercy Tavern in New York. He set up Shake Shack. He's like a hospitality.
He wrote a brilliant book called Setting the Table, and I think he probably wrote it in the 2000s. I need to bloody check that, of course. But it was sort of a Bible for me because it's one of those books that tells you what you already know in a really well put down way, and you go, he talked about guest experience, guest expectation, what the difference between service and hospitality is.
What's that for you, difference between service and hospitality?
Well, I think, to quote Danny Mayer, service is black and white, hospitality is colour.
Yes.
It's it really is about how people feel. But I've gone on to ban the word hospitality from the business. I don't know whether I said that to you before.
No, go on.
I feel the word's been hijacked a bit by corporates and government, and it's become a political word. As in, people talk about hospitality,
right?
Which encompasses everything from cinemas to hotels,
Nando's,
to all of that. Whereas I think when we're running individual, entrepreneurial, brilliant businesses where we're really trying to make people feel something, then we need another phrase that doesn't put us in the same group as, a chicken shop or a high street.
What would that phrase be?
We're in the looking after people business.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, I think hospitality is too, and also it just doesn't make it. I listen to some.
It's a weirdly ugly word.
It's an ugly word. And
yeah, it's not a beautiful word.
It's not a beautiful word. And also, someone was saying this about AI. AI needs a rebrand because it's freaking the shit out of people. People are thinking.
When I was young, AI was a bloke who came to fertilize cows. So
but they were saying they should rebrand AI to co-intelligence. You rebrand it to co-intelligence. It's like, this is going to help you get more smart. It's going to help you do shit.
I've got no idea what's going on.
Neither. But I completely agree. Is the word hospitality is too reductionist, and for like it's a blanket word that. What's happening here is so different to fucking McDonald's around the corner.
But I do think going back like 20 odd years when Danny Mayer began to use that word to describe what we do, it meant something different. And in that book, Setting the Table, which I still give copies to our restaurant managers and our senior people, you go in there and you look at, he spent a lot of time looking at how he learned what he did. And Danny is somebody with a huge brain who really understands that how people feel when they leave his businesses defines what his business is. And I know that sounds really simple, but that is really what we do, because we're retailers, right? So which means, retail means you sell a product. Mm-hmm. Every other retailer on the high street or wherever, you go in, you buy the product, and the value of what you bought is in a bag that you walk out, or at least you've got a tangible thing, whether it's a pair of shoes or a jacket or a hat or I don't know, makeup or whatever you're buying, it's there and your value's there. Whereas you come to us, you spend 50 quid on a load of pints with your mates, or you come and have £100 a table for two, or £1,000 a table for two. When you pay that bill and you walk out, you don't have a bag. You don't have a tangible thing. All you have is a memory of what you did and a feeling of being full or sated or otherwise, and that's what you take away. You know, and we're in the in and also you've spent a big chunk of your time to do that.
Yeah.
And we want to make sure that people walking out feel value for that time, and that intangible thing they bought, which has now disappeared, becomes a memorable thing that can be traded as a story to friends, family, work colleagues, that sort of thing. And, you know, that can't be described in one word. That's not hospitality.
It's not hospitality. Yeah, for
you know,
sure.
do you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. I think he's got in that book, and I've read the book Unreasonable Hospitality, which is by Will Gurdier, I think, who worked for him.
Yeah.
Really
great
interesting.
book.
Great, yeah, really fucking good book.
Apart from the bit with the mariachi band in the fridge, I'm not sure about that.
Yeah. It's weird.
That's another story.
But Danny Mayer talks about the moving the salt principle. You know, have you heard about? If you remember that? So he's basically saying he's in New York and he's got his whole idea in his head about what he wants. I don't know what the restaurant was. He wants it to go to be this place, and he's got this vision in his head, but he's trying to get the staff to be on board with that vision. And he gets in the guy from, is it Sparks Steakhouse, who comes in, he calls me and he's like, look, mate, I need some help with this. He goes, right, Danny, take everything off the table and put the salt shaker in the middle. He goes, where do you want the salt shaker? A bit like you with the phone, mate, you know, you're moving that phone. He goes, where do you want that salt shaker? And Danny goes, there. And then the guy goes, right. And then he grabs the salt shaker and moves it there.
Yeah.
And he goes, your job as a leader is to constantly be just showing people, this is where the salt shaker goes. This is how I want it to do. And I think the whole point of that, what he's saying is it's not necessarily, it works on two levels. It's one, it's moving the salt shaker, and it's show them and remind them. Mm-hmm. I think that's, remind them is what he says in the book. But the other part is you've got to understand and have the empathy for your staff is that, and I think this is, no one's going to care about as much as about your business as you. It's just that's a fact of life. And I think it works on two levels. It's like one, show people and really move it into the middle and show this is how we do things.
Yeah.
But the other thing is have empathy. It's like it's not their business. What would you say is the Oisin Rogers like moving the salt shaker principle?
I'll give you that one quite easily. I think an awful lot of businesses make the mistake of assuming that the staff know what you're doing and how to do it. And
Espressos is sponsored by supply chain software gurus Unleashed. It talks to your e-com and accounting software. It's helped Islands cut admin time in half, get granular clarity on your margins, know where your stock is, don't miss availability. Brands like Candy Kittens, Tiny Rebel and Trip all use Unleashed, and so should you.